Hello, Top Fan Rivalry followers, and welcome to another edition of Can of Corn. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be here to pop open another can with you here. Um, get all of your Wednesday baseball needs full of nutrition and vital vitamins and supplements.
So I
Um,
wore this hat to the golf tournament today, and I had two people ask me, "Hey, that's really cool. What is it?" I said, "That's a can of corn." One person wasn't familiar with baseball, and they said, "Can of corn," and so I explained it to him. The other person that actually was in my foursome, he mentioned, "Oh, that's a great hat. Where do I get it?" And I told him how to use it and get your code in there too. So it was a good thing. We're getting large and in charge ones. So guess what's going to end up in H Town at some point?
there you go. There you go. Right on the doorstep. Okay.
Right on the doorstep with the dugout mug and in my H Town shirt. I want to make sure that I mention that because I may have flopped on the odd couple with something there. So
Yeah, you kind of came at me there, man. But luckily I keep my receipts. So
yeah. All right. So we're gonna do something a little different on odd couple, or I'm
crisis
sorry, on
avoided.
can of corn. Normally we go throughout the league. We are going to go throughout the league, but we're going to start right there in the hometown of H Town, the team that has had seven consecutive championship series runs. Dave, talk to me about what's going on there in H Town. And I'm not trying to throw shade, but there's a lot to talk about.
Okay, this just in from the TFR Sports Desk. Astros starting pitcher Christian Javier is now slated to have Tommy John surgery, thus ending his season. We've also waiting on a second opinion to see if Jose Urquidy, one of our starting pitchers, will also need his second Tommy John surgery of his career, and that may be a wrap for him as well. Kyle Tucker, uh, the lone one of the lone shining stars of this season, fouled one off his knee last night. X-rays came back negative, but he's not in the lineup tonight. So, let's hope that it's just a nasty little bruise. But I mean, let's be honest, man. It's not necessarily I'm not the one to say it's time to panic or, freak out time or the sky's falling, but it's getting close. Okay. At the time of recording, we are battling with the St. Louis Cardinals in the second game of a 3-game set. Um, 7 games under 500. Consequently, 7 games behind. I'm sorry, we went up into Seattle and with a 4-game set, down 3.5 with a chance to take the lead last week, and the Mariners starting pitching decided otherwise. So we dropped 3 of 4 to the Mariners. Then we dropped 2 of 3 to Carlos Correa and the Twins, much to my dismay. Um, but you can thank Ryan Stressley for that loss with his fourth blown save of the year. Two wins and a ballooning ERA. That is, of course, Bill's favorite fantasy baseball player, Ryan Stressley. Don't call me Presley. We've got some kinks to work out here, man. I felt like I know you come to Can of Corn and you don't have to get bombarded with just Astros and Dodgers propaganda, but I felt that a a state of the Astros address was needed. June is usually a month when Houston hits its stride on the field, and they're all usually very mindful of what is needed on the trade market. But I have to be honest with you first, and we are more than 1 or 2 games under 500. It's gonna be time to start panicking. We've got starting pitching woes. Hunter Brown has had a bad regression. I don't know if it's just him in the starter's role that he can't seem to find the strike zone at times, and he's also very confident, streaky, what I like to call it. If he starts getting a couple of bad calls or gives up a homer, he's very emotional and tends to overpitch. And we all know what happens when you overpitch. The offense is starting to make some turns. Bregman Abreu came back from his recent designation to the minors, and while he's went 3 for 15 and raised his lowly batting average, it's still 3 for 15. So I mean, it's a whopping 111. Okay, I don't know what we're gonna do at this point. If the trend continues, because let's be honest here, Bill, you and I both know that a wild card team is more than likely not coming out of the AL West this year. So there's definitely some team from Arlington to get out of the way. And then the M's who have been doing it with young players playing good ball and solid pitching. So our work is cut out for us. And I say us because, yes, I'm part of the team. But no, 2 straight months under 500 is not something that the Astros have had since pre-dynasty era. I mean, we're talking 2014. And while I'm sure a lot of the analysts out there don't necessarily see the playoffs without the Astros in it, but it's certainly not far from certainty at this point. I just think that some teams that we could take advantage of and stack some wins up. The Twins being one of them. I hated dropping that second game. We did end up, winning the last game, not to get swept, but this is where you've got to win series. It's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Your team,
Well,
weaknesses are injuries that have it's tough.
So Dave, you bring up a point. So there's 2 things that you mentioned that I would love to discuss a little further. Number 1, you mentioned the wild card. Number 2, you mentioned winning series. So let's go with the wild card. As it sits right now, you either have Cleveland, Kansas City, or Minnesota that's going to win that division. There's no way the White Sox are going to win it. Probably not going to be the Tigers either, although I picked them to win it. So you've got those 3, and possibly 1 or 2 of those are wild cards. The Yankees look like they're going to win that division. Now they're only 3 up on Baltimore. So, but you've got Yankees, Baltimore, and don't sleep on Boston. They've got a really good pitching staff. So my assumption is the 3 wild card teams are going to come out of those 6 teams that I just mentioned. One of the teams is going to miss the playoffs. 2 of them will win their respective divisions, and the other 3 will take it from there. So what are your thoughts about my thought pattern there? Am I off? Should I be looking in the American League West, or should I not be?
No, I mean, at press time, the Mariners are the only team that are over 500 in this division. It is shaping up to be the worst division in baseball, and that's all. It could be a blessing in disguise for us. Like I mentioned, we're 7 games out of first place. Consequently, we're 7 games out of a wild card position at this point. So it's kind of going to be like a sink or swim type thing, I think, and that's for anybody in this division, whether the Rangers add and get back to grinding out some wins, or do the Mariners finally hold on for the whole season? Historically they've had runs where they'll get hot but it seems that somehow going into August that they fall off. Only time will tell, but I don't like that the Astros are on the wrong side of the injury bug report here more than often. You got to have your players on if you want to make a run. But it all goes to 90 games. You're probably going to take the AL West. And so that means that if you're not in first place and you've got 80 games you're 80 wins. I'm sorry, you're probably not. You're probably going fishing early. Um, so I don't know. It's tough. We've got some decisions to make. Jose Abreu one comes to mind. This might be an $18 million pill that we might be forced. I don't know. I mean, just as far as roster spots, even you've got a guy like John Singleton who's been filling the void. But let's be honest, if John Singleton was a superstar, he would have been on this team for 2 years already. On the majors daily. I know he's had his stints, but it is what it is. That's why it's baseball. That's why we look forward to hanging on each and every pitch. I definitely think that the talent is there, and with winning comes the confidence of winning. And once you know how to do that, it's not hard to put together some games to win. We've got some matchups. Like I said, we're finishing up with St. Louis. Definitely a series we could take. Then we go into Detroit for the Tigers. We've got Baltimore, which should be tough. But then we end out the month with Colorado, the Angels, the Giants, the White Sox, and the Mets. So, I mean, aside from Baltimore, disrespect to your fan base, sorry, Megs, but the Astros should be taking the series from the likes of the White Sox, the Angels, the Giants, and yes, even the beloved Mets. But yeah, it's that time. I mean, it's not crunch time, but this next 2 to 3 weeks is going to be very key to positioning and seeing if you can dig yourself out of a hole. If you give yourself enough room, you can't just keep going down and down. If you find yourself 10 games behind after July 1st, that's really hard to overcome. You've got to almost play perfect baseball, and as we know that doesn't happen a lot.
No. And you mentioned winning series. I am a huge fan of this thing. I am a huge fan of this. I am not a fan of going on winning streaks or losing streaks because I feel like you play too tight, too much pressure when you're on a winning streak or a losing streak. I feel like you don't want to, if you're on a losing streak, boy, you just want to do everything you can in your stressful at bats. And if you're on a winning streak, you don't want to be that guy that breaks the winning streak, right? So I personally am a huge fan of just winning series, and that's what you guys need to do. You got a 2-game series with the Cardinals. Okay, take both of them. Okay, then you've got a 4-game set. I think. Who's your next series with? It's a 4-game set, right?
Yeah. This is why I get paid the big bucks. No, it's St. Louis for 3, Detroit for 3, Baltimore for 3, Colorado for 2, and then road tilts with the Angels, the Giants, the White Sox. So we've got a bunch of 3-game series. We've got 2 with Colorado again. But yeah, dude, I love winning the opening game of a series. Like, it's just, you set yourself up for so much. This is the big leagues. You've got tape on everybody. You've got film. You know, small ball. How often do we talk about it, man? But just situations in games that come along. Too many times this season, the Astros will start off an inning with a double and do not park that run. It just drives me crazy that the next guy up is not automatically bunting. That you don't have some type of small ball offense. It's few and far between. And when you do see a great bunt, it's that much more exciting.
Thank you.
But it takes stuff like that, and alone the mental mistakes, like the mentality of baseball, the IQ needed. That's hard enough. You're making split decisions. Seconds between a pitch to the bat, from the bat to the ball. Do you take a step up on an outward, got you off on the chase? So the Astros are playing good ball in spurts. Unfortunately, a lot of the other teams are as well. So, it's one of those seasons here. I'm a lifelong Astros fan, so I sat through a lot of losing baseball. So while the feeling stings a little bit, um, I don't think that we're going to fall off that dramatically. I do think that we've got some decisions that've got to be made quickly rather than later.
Yep.
But you got to win the series, man. You got to put in some wins.
So so my take on this, to be completely honest with you, my take on this is the Astros, the Seattle Mariners have not done enough to keep the Astros down. The Astros have the mentality of winning. They've won, they're 7 times in a row. They've been to the league championship series. They've won some World Series there. They bang bang fastball, won World Series. Like, they've done what they need to do. You need to be afraid, as Joe Torre would say when he was managing the Yankees. They would go and they would play better teams sometimes, but take 2 out of 3 because the people were afraid of the name on the front of the jersey. You guys need to be afraid of the name on the front of the jersey. That being said, that completely being said, take 2 out of 3. Just take 2 out of 3. And you're talking about mental mistakes, Dave. You and I played baseball growing up. Okay, when we were at 6 years old, 7 years old, we learned what a cutoff man is. Okay, the Astro, you can't. And I'm just going to use Kyle Tucker in right field. And I'm not saying that Kyle Tucker does this, but you got a runner on second, and you got a runner on second. Ground ball to right field. Hit the cutoff man, because if you throw through and you don't get the guy, that runner could potentially end up in scoring position at second base, which a base hit now scores 2 runs instead of scoring 1 run and putting a guy on first and second or first and third. It's very little small, minute things like that that will kill you guys this season. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yes, situational moments, man. I mean, going into the 8th inning with a 2-run lead, and you've got a fresh comes in and he walks the first batter. All right. Well, then now the next guy comes up and he hits a blooper. But the guy was going on the pitch, so now you've got runners at first and third. You got a 2-run lead. Let's concede that run at third. Let's concentrate on getting a double play or something here. But no, missing pitches, walks another one. Now you've got bases loaded. A double scores 3, clears the bases, and you've just got 4 put up on you in the inning.
Yeah.
All to win baseball games like the one. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. No, you've got to play smart baseball when it's time to play smart baseball, which right now for you guys is every day. Right? You can't afford to make mistakes. And trust me.
Yeah, we're in a crazy limbo. I mean,
go ahead. You're in a crazy limbo.
Yeah, we're in a strange, purgatory, like a limbo. We won the division on the last game of the year last year. We've proven that we can claw our way back into it. But I don't see. I see that forever. They're going to start getting their injured pitchers back. Seattle's offense will either get to revving up, or they could be buyers in the trade deadline and get a big bat. We're not in a position to where we can just scoreboard watch. We've got to go, because these guys aren't going to play bad baseball. The schedule that we had started us off horrendously. We've got to take advantage of the lighter schedule while some of these division leading teams are playing the tougher schedules. It's just fundamentals. I mean, it's not hard. It's not a hard equation. We're not talking about trigonometry or galactic chess here. It's baseball. You've got to put together wins. You've got to win series. You've got to handle the teams that you should handle. I
Well,
sound like a broken record, but
I'm looking at Seattle's schedule, and you have some tough games ahead of you, right? Seattle they're at Oakland for 3, at KC for 3. Okay, so the KC part's going to be a little bit tough. Oakland probably not. 4 at home with the White Sox. 3 at home with Texas. Then Cleveland, Miami, Tampa Bay, the Twins. So they have a pretty decent schedule this month for you guys to pick up 2 or 3 games. Again, like I say, end June, under 5 games or under, and you're good to go. You guys have to play 19-8 ball this month, right? It's got to be that way. You don't have a lot
which
of wiggle room.
is possible, but it gets harder when your starting pitchers are having Tommy Johns. They got to quit giving out the coupons or whatever's going on. There's an epidemic here in town. All our pitchers are having Tommy John surgery. So,
yeah,
Jim Crane, I know you got a package deal, but it's okay, man. We don't need everybody.
So if the season were to end right now, you'd have the Yankees, Cleveland, and Seattle, with Baltimore, Kansas City, and Minnesota, with the Astros missing the playoffs by 7 games. That's a hard nut to swallow. I mean, the 3 teams below you, Oakland, Anaheim, and the White Sox, who, by the way, the White Sox are 15-45. So that's not awesome.
The road to 130.
Yeah, exactly.
And still 130 losses. You could do it, White Sox.
And believe it or not, on the other division, get this, check this out. On the other division, so in the American League, Boston would miss the playoffs by 3.5. Other division, Philly, Dodgers, and Milwaukee. You'd have Atlanta, San Diego, and Chicago. Chicago and St. Louis have the same record, but Chicago would have the tiebreaker, and the Giants would miss the playoffs by a game or a half a game. Arizona would miss it by a game. Pittsburgh would miss it by a game and a half, and Washington would miss it by a game and a half. That's a hard nut to swallow. Know what I mean?
So you're saying the Giants would have just needed one win from Blake Snell to tiptoe into the playoffs if it ended today.
See, here's the thing, and here's me jumping on my soapbox for 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna jump on my soapbox, Dave. By the way, the opinions expressed on the soapbox are fully and solely Bill's, not necessarily Dave's and or Canicorn's or Top Fan Rivalries. So here's my soapbox. I know that players come out of spring training and thinking, hey, when I missed that cutoff man, when I missed the hit and run sign, I didn't bunt when it was nobody out, runner on second because we can get the guy over, whatever it might be. You lose 1 game because of some bonehead plays or mental mistakes. What happens when you're sitting at home in October because you missed the playoffs by 1 game? To me, game 1 matters just as much as game 162. And
you're not lying. I mean, you've got to get wins when you can. I mean, it's simple,
What was it? It was someplace in the 90s when the wild card had just started in 93. It was someplace 93. I know 94 was a strike season, but 93, 95, 96, someplace in there. The Cincinnati Reds missed the wild card by 1 game, and they had won, I think, 94 games or something like that. So you win 94 games, you should be a playoff team. But can you imagine if you're sitting there and you're sitting at home after winning 94 games because if you're a player, you've got to think, oh my gosh, if I would have just been able to execute that bunt, move the runner over, or, if I wouldn't have expanded the strike zone, like all the fundamental baseball things, right?
It's the phrase that pays today. Situational baseball. You think about every single situation that you were in as a hitter, as a fielder, it's hard. It's a hard sport. You succeed a third of the time, and you're a Hall of Famer. It's not easy to do.
No.
But that's why we love it so much. You know, I do think that the one benefit, if the Astros somehow don't make the playoffs, sorry, if it happens, we may weed out some fair weather fans. That's always a good thing.
Well,
So
and here's the reality, Dave. And we talk about this, Dodger fans talk about this. You Astro fans and us Dodger fans, I call it pre 2017 and post 2017. Okay. There's a lot of fans out there. Dave, Mikey and I do these lives, and people are sitting there screaming, going, why don't we try to trade for Bobby Witt Jr.? Why don't we try to trade for a real shortstop? Okay, hold on, wait a second. You have Ohtani, you have Freddie Freeman, you have Mookie Betts, you have Will Smith. Look at your pitching staff. You have Ohtani, you have Clayton Kershaw. Like it's a embarrassment of riches. Yet you're complaining that we don't have an all-star shortstop. Like you should have seen some of the things that we heard here in LA when Aaron Judge didn't come to LA. People are like, what are the Dodgers thinking? What do you mean, what are the Dodgers thinking? You're gonna run out of money, right? Unless you want to go to the game and you're going to pay $500 a seat for nosebleed seats. Dave, at spring training, which you and I need to get to next season, at spring training in Arizona, there is grass seats at Glendale, at the ballpark, grass seats. Last season, those grass seats were $15. $15. You don't get a seat, you just bring a blanket, right? You know what I'm saying? This year with Shohei Ohtani, those seats were $78. To bake in the sun, no shade, no seat. Don't talk to me about we don't have Aaron Judge. Don't talk to me about we don't have this, that, or the other. Stop it, right? And the same thing with the Astro fans. I mean, you guys have been so good for so long. I mean, do you not think that Angel fans, some of the people that you know and are near and dear to your heart that you met through TFR that are Angel fans, you don't think that they'd want to be in the Astros position the last 7 years or the Dodgers position?
yeah, I
Hey,
mean, and we just gave. I mean, Jose Altuve will be Astro for life. We
yeah,
extended Jordan Alvarez. You know, it's also a business behind this. You know, so
yeah.
I don't know. It seems to me that a lot of the newer fans are more of the idiot base fan base. So it just is. You know,
The opinions expressed by Big Dave are not necessarily the opinions of Can of Corn and or Top Fan Rivalry. Go ahead. Keep
hey,
going, Dave.
look, I'm just saying whether you're a Brewer fan or a Dodger fan, you all got idiots. Okay, the Astros are full. I, that, like I said, if it's come to not being playoffs this year, let's find the golden can and let's weed out. But you know what? I'm hoping on. You know, I'll definitely be tuning into each game and living on it. Fan rivalry is so fun. Is seeing people from all different fandoms, sports talk, fan involved, for the fans, by the fans. You know, I've made so many friends this year that normally I could really, you know, the Astros play the Mets, and okay, it's just no game. I'll, I'll definitely be jabbing back and forth with Meg or my man Matty Ice. You know, when the Astros pin a loss on the Dodgers, you better believe that Bill's phone's been going off for about 3 innings. You know, so that's what I look forward to, man. It promotes uh, uh, baseball. You know, the have the love, uh, um, and you know, and hard. And when you hard, you know, you got rivalry.com. Do me a favor, YouTube, Go down there. That's with so uh, you can find your Top Fan Rivalry apparel. There's even a couple of HHC Top Fan Rivalry hat pins in there. You can get it all, and I got it on good authority that if you use the discount code Big Dave, that's right, save yourself 10%. Mugs make a great gift. You can get your dad a custom made baseball card while you're there. But please go mash the subscribe button. And as always, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're listening on your favorite podcast, in your car, in your house, or whatever the case may be. I thank you from the bottom of my hand.
Likewise. And let's do this again next week. I'm excited to do it again next week. There's much more that we're going to talk about. I'm excited to see where things happen, how they go, where they go, and I'm just, yes. So, okay, my friend Dave, let's do it again.
Same bad time, same bad channel. Hopefully with a better Astros outlook.
There you go. All right, talk to you soon.
Go Astros.